Urban Jungles Radio, Urban Jungles Radio. Urban Jungles Radio, Urban Jungles Radio.
So, Robyn, you're here.
I am.
So you had a really interesting day today, Robyn. Let's talk about this. Did you end up going to Facebook?
I did.
You did. So, okay, you came to New York City, and why don't you fill us in on what's been going on?
I came to New York City for the opportunity to go to the NYC Facebook offices.
And
I was invited, not by Facebook. I kind of
by whom?
I invited myself because Brian Barsizic from BHB Reptiles, he did get an invite. They wanted to kind of talk about the Animal Bites TV thing he's doing with his different channels and YouTube and stuff. And so they invited him to come to the offices in New York City, and it made it sound like, hey, well, wine you and dine you a little bit and gas you up some and give you some look at the backside of Facebook. Maybe not the backside.
So fitting.
Behind the scenes, and maybe give you a couple tips on how to better manipulate that media and that platform to use it to benefit Snake Bites and Animal Bites and the rest of his stuff. And so I said, oh, well, maybe you need a personal assistant for the day. Because I'm obviously in social media as well, so I wanted to see that side of things and get that opportunity. So, yeah, we scheduled the trip and came up, and that was the focus of my 3-day New York City adventure, was to get to the Facebook offices.
No, it wasn't. Sushi was your focus. Who are you kidding?
Well, I'm not going to come to New York and not eat sushi. And I'm doing that equally as well.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. So, we did end up going to Facebook today. I was a little bit underwhelmed.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not their main, that's not like their main hub operation, yeah.
No, that would be in Palo Alto, California. But, I mean, they have the entire 8th floor of a building on Broadway. I mean, it's a big setup. And it's fancy, and, they have a bunch of meeting rooms. They obviously do this kind of thing all the time and kind of court clients or personalities or businesses or pages and, this kind of thing. So we came in. It kind of turned out that the guy was mostly interested in talking about Instagram.
What?
That's where all the kids are.
Are they affiliated with Facebook? Are they?
Facebook owns Instagram.
Okay.
Mr. At this moment on top of the world.
Ooh, who the fuck is on Instagram, man? Like, only people who photograph their food. All right,
people that don't have gray hair.
Or any hair.
I cannot get it. I've tried Instagram, and it's just like we have followers, and it's not.
Me too. It's not fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
But I'm 100 years old. We looked at the demographics, and everybody from 13 to 24 is on Instagram.
Yeah.
Facebook is lame. It's passé. It's not cool anymore. But I mean, I'm trying to use these platforms as a tool. To further Ship Your Reptiles, further the Reptile Report, further our presence in the reptile world. And to me, Facebook is still the most effective tool. It keeps dropping off, which is why I wanted to come to this meeting so I could grill him, this guy, this insider, a little bit about what they want from a small business, what their philosophy is, what my philosophy should be, what my strategy should be. And I thought that's kind of what we do. And he did a presentation on, the latest Mercedes-Benz campaign on Instagram. And I thought, what the fuck does this got to do with me, my friend? I don't have $300,000 to give you for an advertising campaign. So, I'm trying to talk about, I want to do campaigns of my own to promote our brand and our product. But part of my goal is to also help the rest of the industry and the hobbyists and the small businesses and the small breeders promote themselves. That's what the Reptile Report is all about, is to support the small private breeders, help them reach a bigger audience when they're doing great stuff.
Right.
That's what I want to do. That's what I want to accomplish. So, looking at an ad campaign for Mercedes-Benz doesn't do a lot for me. And, he was definitely a reptile fan. He was aware of some reptile things. He was mostly a fan of Brian. And, can you blame him?
It's the hair.
His ponytail. So he was familiar with snake bites and animal bites and stuff like that. But again, I mean, are there maybe 10 large pages and presences on Instagram in the reptile world? Maybe. Everybody in the reptile world is still on Facebook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to, we kind of went in there with a list. Hey, here's all my questions. I'm going to get all these answers. I'm going to peek under the hood and find out some things about Facebook. And that wasn't really his forte. So, I'm hoping in retrospect to get some kind of hindsight learning from it and glean some point that I might have overlooked. But right now it was mostly about Instagram and how to use that.
Facebook is becoming so increasingly frustrating for me.
Yeah.
And I think for many people, like you're saying, because, we're not all bar checks. Let's face it. We can't all be cool tattooed ponytail people. We don't have the numbers, that he does and stuff. So like you just said, it's a lot of, smaller guys that really kind of rely on Facebook at this point to get their point across. And increasingly so, I feel like they're shutting us down. I mean, at Urban Jungles, we're not, what are we getting? At best, like 10% penetration of our fans on our page whenever we put up a post, under the best case scenario. And it seems like every month they're making it harder and harder to reach.
Smaller.
Yeah, to reach the people. I mean, did they address that at all with you?
No, they don't like to talk about that. I mean, he would barely even acknowledge that that's real. He kind of looks at you like, you're making something up. But just a year and a half ago, we would probably reach 30% of our audience.
Yeah.
30% you make a typical post on a typical day, you probably 30% of your fan base would see that. Now, I'm at 2 or 3% of my fan base. We post a lot of items. The Reptile Report posts. Last week we had 450 items for the week. So it's a lot of posts. So our reach overall, aggregated reach, is larger than everybody else. But the individual posts, some of the posts are just terrible. Unless there's some kind of virality to it and something special, or somebody getting bit or some bloody thing tends to be popular. That'll get a larger average post reach. But yeah, the reach and the effectiveness of the platform, it keeps decreasing. And that's what I kind of wanted to talk to them about, because I don't think they understand it or understand how serious that's going to be. Because again, we're the reptile industry. It's a very small industry compared to the world. Like I said, you can't show me a Mercedes-Benz ad and say, hey, now apply this strategy to yourself. Hire an ad creator for $100,000 to make some campaign for you that's really interesting, and then hire 10 professional photographers to announce your new car model.
Right.
Okay, but how do I apply that in the reptile world? That's a lot tougher. So if you're not going to make it workable and appealing to the small business, and especially in our industry, a small breeder, I think breeders would have a hard time coming up with $100 a month for a specific advertising campaign. Not everybody rolls like that. And Facebook suggested to us for the Reptile Report, you want to advertise X amount of posts and you want to boost and this and that and the other. It's about $15,000 a month they want me to spend on advertising.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it's like, okay, you are missing the point, friends. Nobody in our industry has $15,000 a month to spend on advertising. You're talking about something completely different. This is small business, hobbyist based. Lots and lots of home breeders make up the bulk of the hobby. They're the bread and butter folks. And again, for them to pull out $100 a month is ambitious. For you to expect everybody to pay that. But to talk about you got to pay $1,000 a month or $10,000 a month, you're not even on the same page with where we're at. So I want to try and understand, what do you expect from small businesses like our industry? And again, this dude, was just like, oh, you should do big advertising campaign on Instagram.
Have you seen? I know you toyed around with like boosting posts and some of their campaigns. Does it make a significant difference?
I'm actually running some ads right now, and I've boosted some recent posts. It's changed. In the past, it was you use the boost post button, and it's at the bottom right of each item that you put on your page, and that was completely ineffective. You might as well. Thrown the money down the drain. Wow. Or in your case, bought some ball pythons. They've made it better now.
Yeah.
because you're able to target more closely with the audience you want to see the boosted post.
Right.
But again, like a page like ours, it's we have 80,000 plus likes, so it's right there. I don't know, top 10, 12 pages in the reptile world as far as likes go. Sorry.
You're pushing 12K. Ugh.
Yeah, I was there at one point, years and years ago. But if I boost a post, the default value it puts in is $1,000.
Wow. Where do they get that scale? Like, how do they come up
Based
with that?
on how many likes you have,
Unreal.
the size of your page, the size of your reach.
Wow.
We're not the biggest page as far as likes. I'm pretty sure Ben Siegel's page is the biggest at just over 200,000 now.
Wow.
But for reach, we dominate everything else.
Right.
So I guess because of the reach and the size of the page, yeah, they're saying, oh, well, here's about where you should be, probably budget-wise. May I suggest $1,000 on this post? And it's like, I can't relate to this, guys. I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna put in $10 and see what happens.
Right.
And it has been working a little bit. The Facebook guy did today say, well, if you boost a couple posts a day, then that will have a trickle effect on the reach of the rest of your posts, which kind of sounds like okey dokeism. Like, spend some money with me and I'll turn the volume up on your page a little bit. But again, you got to figure out where you want to put that money every single day, how much you want to budget to it, and that can be tough. And there's so few people in the reptile world that can do that.
Yeah, seriously, I can't imagine too many people, even business owners. I mean, the business model for reptile people just doesn't work that way, and especially not on that scale. And I don't think there's enough benefit to reaching, to going out and targeting that many people, as far as seeing a return in that sense.
Yeah, you got to make that money back somewhere.
Yeah.
If you chose one post a day and you did, multiple posts every day, you're looking at almost, $3,000, $3,100 a month.
Like Robyn was just saying, though. I mean, they're suggesting like $1,000. That's crazy.
No,
money.
I'm saying like with Robyn said he boosted it down to 10.
Right.
So even if you do 10, you pick one out of your 11 posts that you do a day, you're still going to be paying $3,000 a month, which is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so I would like to find out a way that we can more organically increase. We've been spoiled the past couple of years on Facebook because it is an amazing tool to reach your fan base and reach the industry. It's just, as you mentioned earlier, they keep turning that down.
Yeah.
Diminishing as they push the advertising side. And yes, again, for Taco Bell and for AT&T and for Coca-Cola, that's fine. They're going to throw gobs and gobs of money at it.
It's a drop in the hat for them.
But for Urban Jungles or for US Arc or for the Reptile Report or from Ben Rennick Reptiles, a small private boutique type breeder, if you keep turning him down, all you're going to do is drive him away.
Yep.
He's going to have to find another platform that works. And now, it's such a trendy world that even the Facebook folks are saying, hey, go to Instagram. Because that's kind of the new, freshest thing.
It's simpler. It's simpler than Twitter and simpler than Facebook in its postings. But the difference here, you have to use a lot of hashtags in order to really reach people.
They're so fucking annoying.
They are super annoying.
Yeah, like anything that I post on Instagram is strictly animal pictures.
Right.
So if I post a picture of one of my spiders or one of my snakes, I'll have to use like snakes of Instagram or spiders or inverts of Instagram in order to have more people see it than just the people that I follow or that follow me.
But everybody uses all those hashtags, and then it just becomes a lot of noise.
True.
It does.
But that's how that's Instagram's way of like the liking and the sharing.
Yeah. It's a nice graphic we have. We have the reptile report. I like that. And the main issue with Instagram is, unlike Facebook, you can't include links in the photos.
Yes.
So you can't post an animal for sale. You can't post like the reptile report. If we wanted to post some of the great stories and items of the day, you can post those with a photo, but you can't put a link to where the story lives. You can't put a link to read more, to follow up, or anything. So for me, that's very, very limiting.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know, and for a lot of reptile folks, as far as folks trying to do a business, you're trying to sell animals, whether you're trying to sell 10,000 animals or you have 2 clutches of corn snakes and you're going to have 30 babies to sell, you need some kind of way for the customer to come back to you. And the Instagram thing, I'm just not seeing how that's going to work. I mean, it might be trendy as hell right now, but that also means that it's going to be untrendy as hell.
Well, plus the problem too is
quick.
who's spending the money. I mean, you were just saying, okay, Instagram is really popular with the younger kids, but I mean, they're not the ones who are going to be shelling out the bucks for whatever it is you're selling. You know, for the most part, people unfortunately are creatures of habit, and everyone is so married to Facebook right now that you know we're still there. We're still following Facebook, and the people who are going to spend the money are the older folk, the mature folk. Yep. Who are on Facebook, and it's ridiculously frustrating. Are you having any success with other social media, like Twitter?
You know, we just did a talk about social media at IHS, and I talked about Facebook. My partner Chad Brown talked about Twitter, and then Barczyk talked about YouTube and some of the video type platforms and stuff like that. Because it's funny because we all kind of use different platforms according to what we want to accomplish. You know, Chad uses Twitter. He's all about Twitter. He doesn't look at Facebook, doesn't follow any Facebook. He enjoys Twitter more. I can't stand Twitter.
I hate Twitter.
It doesn't do anything for me. No. When you have people post conversations and retweets and all this other stuff, I can't even figure out which direction to read that shit.
It's so hard to follow. Yeah, it really is.
I need to get an 11-year-old to show me how it works. Because I just can't decipher. It's at something and this, that, and I'm like, who's saying this part and who's saying that part? And
you don't even know who the hell you're talking to at this point. You know? And then I don't even understand how it works, like people favoriting things. So I mean,
but Chad's in the media world. He does a lot of sports media, does a lot of sports radio, sports TV, and stuff for football. And so that world lives on Twitter,
right?
And so that's how he has evolved over the past 4 years or so. He participates more in that world, so he likes that platform. But he doesn't share any Reptile Report items. I mean, once in a while he will share some, but that's not like his regular gig. So from a functional standpoint about how do I grow my reptile business, that's not important to him.
Right.
He's consuming and using it more from a mainstream media standpoint, and it works fine for that kind of thing. But again, I don't know anybody who has a real strong Twitter following in the reptile world that's effective.
Brian Barczyk.
Well, yeah. Barczyk, he tweets a lot, and he gets a lot of engagement, and it helps brand him. It helps reinforce his whole ponytail image, and, the BHB and snake bites image.
His weight loss.
Yeah, he's looking all lean and mean nowadays. But, I don't know,
weight loss.
Where does that, again, from a reptile business standpoint, it's got to translate into sales.
Yeah.
If you're just a hobbyist, use whatever platform you want and you have fun with.
Right. Yeah.
But so many of us have a business interest. Again, whether you're breeding 20 snakes a year or 20,000 a year, a lot of folks are in the reptile world to become businesses of their own, to become breeders of their own. So when you mess with these platforms, you want to have something that works for you. And I think Facebook is still the most effective. It's just not as effective as it has been. And I think there's a opportunity there for something else to come in and take its place.
MySpace?
I miss MySpace. I hate to say it, but I did like MySpace. I think, once again, MySpace is something that really benefits the musical industry, the musical world. It's the kind of platform that works really well for that specifically. But like Robyn was saying, I think, for the reptile world, you can't do better than Facebook. You can link links, stories. People have a tendency to pick up things, I think, a lot easier on Facebook and run with it. You have a better chance of them going, quote, viral on Facebook.
And when it does, it's super powerful.
Yes. You have to find that formula. It's like, talking about people with their cats or ball pythons, and boom, that shit flies. But, put up something for US ARC, and...
I wanted to talk about it when Phil was on the line, but he's done a really good job in the past year of tuning up the US ARC page.
Yes.
He used to post super dry, just nerdy Nerdson kind of stuff, and just copied straight out of the newspaper.
Nerdy Nerdson.
Yeah. Well, it was just so dry.
Yeah.
And it was boring. It was a story out of Lafayette, Kentucky. Right. Some local paper. Now he's much more engaging about it. He's got an intro paragraph that talks about quickly what the issue is, why it's interesting. He'll give some stat or some blurb that he's looked up, and then he'll put a really interesting and catchy photo with it. And the reach and virality of the US ARC page is just skyrocketed. And I talked about it the other day. I said, I see what you're doing. and I appreciate it. I mean, you're doing a fantastic job. And I don't know who else is really noticed, but if you look at the USARK page from a year ago to today, it's just vastly different and much more effective. And so Facebook still gives you that opportunity to have a viral aspect. And you guys fell ass backwards into something. You had a video a couple months ago, right, that exploded on YouTube.
Oh, the Medusa video from Ben.
Yeah, from Ben Siegel. Man,
oh, that was
what
from
an ass kicking that was. We were at Ben Siegel's and we literally shot this video with my freaking iPhone.
Yep.
And I came home and I was like, this would be interesting. I'm gonna put it up. Like, got hammered one night. Decided to put this video up. Like, did the only fucking ridiculous voice with it. I was just totally playing around, and this thing just goes crazy. It got picked up by I fucking love science.
That's what really helped us.
That really helped us,
Yeah.
and it's crazy how that works. And the thing is ridiculous, and it takes off. It has taken off, and it's still making its rounds on all the web pages and stuff. But that's a testament of Facebook to me. That's why I love Facebook, because you can have these other websites pick up shit like that, like I fucking love science, and Neil deGrasse Tyson or all these other guys pick up stuff, and it just goes crazy. It goes absolutely crazy. But then it's like, where do you go from there? You can't, and there's still no way to predict this shit. There's still no way to, I have this conversation with Barczyk all the time. There's no way to really predict what is going to go and what is going to take off. But I don't think that would happen with Twitter.
No, I mean, there are things that Danny and I post on the Urban Jungles page. We've talked about this a couple times, that, things that we think are important to the hobby or to the industry, and it gets 5 likes. And then we post some ridiculous video or some ridiculous picture, and it has 65 likes, 65 shares, and it's just commenting on like crazy. Like, there's no formula. Like you said, there's no rhyme or reason why this one gets the attention, but this one doesn't. When this one should have the more impactful post.
Boobs always do well.
Of course
Boobs
they do.
do well. That's why I think Phil
Doo-doo doesn't do well at all.
No, it is. It's very frustrating, and increasingly so because of the way that it's being modeled right now. And it's kind of disappointing that your news from Facebook offices and what they had to say, because I think they're losing sight of who it is that's making them what
if
they are.
They're looking
The bread and butter, I think.
Yeah.
Sounds like Facebook is grasping at straws too, looking for help to help boost their own post within the posts.
Well, I did. I had this slight delusion of grandeur and thinking that we'd show up and Mark Zuckerberg would be there and he'd invite us into his office. And
I loved your movie, man.
you were great in that. I thought it had a chance of being super effective and interesting, and also being a little bit just sales pitchy. But I wasn't going to miss the opportunity. I mean.
Yeah, no, of course.
If the door's open, I'm gonna.
It's fascinating to
go
see the operations behind things like that, and it's crazy. Especially it's crazy how Barczyk has become like the Bieber of the social media world. With this.
A snake. Get yourself a snake. Get yourself a snake. I got myself a snake. Yeah, I got myself a snake. Yeah. Got myself a snake.